Rumors, trees turn white, the tide ain't heard the end of it. Schooner rolling through the fair, welcome from the other side. Gators, dogs needing Duval, whole city drawing lines. Why kicking for the dome? That valley after dark. The book can show the number, but the crowd supplies the heart. One snap, one fake perfection sitting on the line. Howard's rock down the hill, flaming spear across the sky. Miami breaking through the smoke. Try to take you one more ride. Camp Brando, shaking, see a red from end to end. Every crowd believes the next piece of history belongs to them. One kick, two words, one rivalry forever. 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 The Better College Football Show. Your Saturday starts right now. What?
Good morning, college football fans. I hope you are locked, cocked, and ready to go. But I am your Highness. That's John Gerber, and this is the first ever, the Better College Football Show. This is where we spend all week breaking down, studying the matchups, digging through advanced analytics so that you, the folks at home, don't have to. Like I said, I'm your Highness. That's John Gerber on my right, and this is the Better College Football Show. Let's get in where we fit in, John. A happy good morning. I guess maybe it's afternoon where you're at. How are you today?
Good afternoon, buddy. What a great day. Starting in about 12 hours, 13, 14 hours, we have the start of the college football season, man. I can't be more excited. So many storylines, as there usually is every single college football year. And I think a little bit more now than ever. How many, is Bill Belichick going to last at UNC? Is the Indiana, was that a fluke last year? There's so many storylines. Is Miami going to be back with the transfer of Mensa coming in there? So many storylines. I love it. I'm excited. It's great to be on with you. And let's make some people some money all through the year. And we might as well start talking about it today. Get ready for our plays tomorrow. We got some future bets today that we're going to give to you. You have a few. I have a few. Let's see where we compare. I'm pretty sure there's going to be some argument on this show between you and I. And that's okay. That's what I love about this. Is it always, I'm not always right. I'm not always wrong, but it's great to discuss this great college football. And I love it. I can't be more excited, buddy. And looking forward to the year with you, making people some money.
Well, let's start off with a hell yeah, brother. I'm jacked and ready to go. Let's get this thing rolling. First, let's start off with the opening drive. All right. Opening drive every day is just going to give you the breakdown. But for today, let me just give you the breakdown of how this hour is going to go. We're going to go conference by conference. We're going to talk about the teams that matter. We think the markets that are wrong and what we think. Now, again, John just said it. Opinions might differ between us, might differ between the books, but that's what this is all about, baby. The first quarter up, we're going to talk about ACC football. The second quarter up, we're talking about the Big 12. After halftime, we're going to come back with the SEC, and we're going to finish strong in the fourth quarter with the Big 10. Now, we're going to put our 4 plays on the board every single week for you. We've broken it down into 4 categories. Number 1 is going to be our run play. That is going to be a conservative play, a play we like a lot. That's a run play. Then we're going to have a pass play. Pass play is going to be a little more aggressive. Still winnable. Very winnable, folks, but a little bit more aggressive. We're going to hit you with a Hail Mary. Now, this is a long shot. This could be a big underdog upset. This could be a parlay. The floor is open for how we interpret it. And then we're going to finally hit you with the punt play. And that sounds like just what it is. We're punting on somebody. We're fading a team. We're punting on a player, whatever it might be. But we're going to give you 3 things we like and 1 thing we don't like for that Saturday. We're going to finish every show with the 2-minute warning. And you at home right now listening, I need you to listen up real close. The 2-minute warning is for you, the people. That's right. You drop in the comments anytime throughout the show, and we'll address all of your comments during the 2-minute warning. Now, what are we looking for you? We're looking for, put in a game, put in a team, put something in the comments to let us know what you want us to talk about. But we'll go over matchups. We'll go over team breakdowns and anything we didn't cover throughout the show that you want us to talk about. Maybe it's a betting perspective. Maybe it's just an opinion, whatever it might be. Put that in the comment section, and we'll address that during the 2-minute warning. But other than that, John, are you ready to get this show on the road?
I can't be more ready, buddy. Go ahead and start us off to what you think about this year's ACC. Some really good storylines in the ACC, and let's see what you think and think who's going to have a good opportunity to win the ACC this year.
Yeah, so we're going to start off with ACC. This is going to be our first quarter. I got two teams I want to talk about. John, I know you got a couple as well, but let me start off with Mustang Sally, baby. That's the SMU Mustangs. They're in the greater Dallas area. The first thing with SMU is the quarterback is going to be Kevin Jennings. This for him, for people who don't know, this is going to be his third year back as a starter. He threw for over 3,600 yards last year and 26 touchdowns. He already has 26 career starts under his belt. And again, Rhett Lashley, I love him in SMU. They went 9-4 last year, 6-2 in the ACC. Like I said, I was high on them last year. I think they're even a better team this year. It's going to come down to, I think, protecting the ball and can the defense get better. The schedule is, again, I think very good. They do have Florida State and Louisville on the schedule, but again, they are avoiding Clemson and they are avoiding Miami. I think that's important when we get into conference play. But again, it's going to come down to this defense. They gave up roughly about 21 points on average per game. But don't let that fool you because there was some cupcakes on the schedule that kind of offset that. John, any thoughts on SMU for you this year?
Yeah, I think you hit the point. I mean, I think you there's so many coaching changes this year and so many transfers and going into the portal and so many new guys, kind of a revolving door when it comes to college football. You're seeing probably the last couple of years the start of that. This year's not going to be any different. Maybe a little bit more coaching changes that you think, but the stability of Rhett Lashley certainly is going to kind of be the pillar of that team. You have a quarterback, it's a veteran quarterback that's been in that system now for a while. Me living in Dallas, hometown guy, I'm always a little bit leery of those guys that play in Dallas. There's a lot of pretty girls out there, man. And if they can stay focused on the football field in Dallas, Texas, a little bit like TCU over in Fort Worth, 45 miles away, they certainly have the firepower to really compete and win the ACC and make the playoffs. They steadily improved, and I certainly think with the stability of Rhett Lashley as their coach and the quarterback being in that system, there's certainly an opportunity for them to win the ACC and to make the college football playoffs.
Love it. Let's get into Tigers. How about them Tigers? Clemson. Clemson's the next team I'm going to talk about, and everybody's down on Clemson. The fighting Dabo Sweeneys, as I call them. But they're kind of opposite of SMU. Okay, we're betting on Clemson. We like Clemson on a bounce back year. Had a down year last year. I think a lot of people are putting them to the side. Not so fast, my friend, if I can quote Lee Corso there for a second. But yeah, Dabo Sweeney, I think, is going to right the ship back this year. Cade Klubnik, his career's over. I think that was a disaster. They had, was it DJ Ongole? Yeah, whatever.
God bless you. Yeah, something yes.
Don't hurt me there. But yeah, they've had a lot of terrible quarterbacks. Let's put that in college football, professional football. I don't care, even high school football. You got to have a quarterback. Teams with the best quarterbacks tend to do a lot of winning. So I think they have. Let's see here. Last year's offense only averaged about 27 points a game. I think that you're going to see an increase. I think they finally started bringing some transfer portal guys. Dabo was really big against that. They're starting to bring those guys in, so I like to see that. Schedule-wise, now schedule is a little scary. They do have LSU on the schedule. They do have to play Miami, Vatech, Florida State, South Carolina. But mind you, I believe, and I don't have it in front of me, but I want to say Miami, Virginia Tech, and South Carolina are at home. Playing Miami at home is going to be a huge help. They do have a home field advantage there at Clemson, as you can see. But the win-loss total is pretty low, like 7.5. They don't even have to be a great team to go over that. But what's your thought on the fighting Dabo Sweeneys?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a year that Dabo, it's shit or get off the pot, right? I mean, the last couple of years, he's kind of bucked the transfer portal, but in this world of college football, in this world of life, it's either adapt or die. And he learned it hurt him over the last couple of years, not taking the transfers, kind of staying firm and strong to his beliefs and his opinion, and it just doesn't work. And you saw him get passed over over the last couple of years, not having the talent and the teams that he needed. But I think this is a bounce back year, like you said. I think I still think Dabo Sweeney can coach football. Now you just have to adjust to the new landscape of college football with these new kids. Certainly what a great point going into Tiger Stadium. It is a home field advantage of utmost respect. You probably have LSU, you have a couple of these other places. That is a big deal. It's probably worth 2 or 3 points, if not even more, going in there and playing Clemson. They're never short on talent, right? They get to South Carolina, that region certainly has a lot of kids coming out in high school. And I think him, again, adapting that policy of taking on getting kids in the portal now is certainly going to help him. New quarterback coming in there. He's a little bit more of a mobile quarterback than the Klubnik they had in the past. I think they're getting a lot more athletic. That's what you're certainly going to need in the ACC for them to compete. But certainly a bounce back year. I certainly believe it's a bounce back year for Clemson. And if it's not a bounce back year, you're going to watch some rumblings there at Dabo Swinney, kind of talking a little bit about maybe being gone and maybe being on the hot seat. But I certainly don't think that's the right move. Who would you get that's better than him going into there? I think only guy I would think of that would be any better would be Venables, and then Oklahoma just locked him up, a couple weeks ago. Maybe that's a preemptive move, thinking that maybe Dabo could have been on the hot seat and that was the guy that they would have went and got if that was the case. But certainly a bounce back year. I totally agree with you when it comes to the Clemson Tigers.
We're going to shift to the Miami Hurricanes, but real quick, you brought something up there I want to address. Is there a season that could happen in Clemson that would get Dabo fired? Like if they only have 4 wins or something, like is there something crazy that could happen this year, or is he still untouchable this year? But if this year and next year happens, then his head's on the chopping block.
I think you had to make a strong case to get in the playoffs with the 12 team playoffs. I really do. I mean, it's been too long. I'm a believer that, I like the blue bloods and the good teams in college football for so long. And I certainly don't consider Clemson a blue blood, but I certainly consider them when Clemson is good, college football is certainly more interesting. And I like him. I do like Dabo Swinney. I like the way he talks. He says what he thinks most of the time, but I think they got to be viable for the playoffs, and I certainly think they have to get in the ACC championship game.
All right, let's move to Miami. What are you forecasting for the Hurricanes?
You look at there's a lot of hype on Miami this year, and you look at it. I think it's all predicated on Mensah coming in from Duke, taking over that quarterback role from Carson Beck last year. I think that they're a little bit different quarterbacks as you transition to. Beck's a big kid. You can see the Mensah. He's not a small guy by any means, but they're going to have to adjust their offense. They got really more athletic on that offensive line for Mensah to be able to move around a little bit more so than Carson Beck. I know Beck was a pretty good athlete, but I think they transitioned into a little bit of that offensive style. What's going to hurt potentially Miami? Losing 4 starters, 4 guys on the defense in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft. So that's really certainly going to help a lot. But Miami's been reloading. They found a way to get some of that South America money or whatever to pay some of these kids. I don't know if people realize that the Miami Hurricanes is a small school. You might only have 4,000 students, super small private. But I think Mario Cristobal's got his finger on the pulse, keeping the South Florida kids what they used to do in the past. So certainly the favorite in the ACC. I'm a little bit worried about, filling in some of these defensive roles. They certainly going to be able to score some points, but that's my first team I'm going to kind of think that has a great shot of winning the ACC. What do you think?
So it comes down to the quarterback. If he can get a production out of Mensah, I hope I'm saying his name right, similar to Carson Beck. I know they're different quarterbacks, but I'm talking about production numbers here.
Yeah.
If they can get the same type of production out of their quarterback, then yes, I see them competing, or at least in the conversation for another national championship. But if not, I think the fall from grace is going to be great. And I say that because guess what? They have a target on their back. Everybody in the ACC wants Miami. So they're going to get everybody's best on every Saturday or every matchup. Sometimes they play Fridays. I get it. But yeah, quarterback play. If he can produce the same kind of production that they got out of Beck last year, yes, I think they're a top 4, top 5 team. If that's not the case, if he's not to that level or better than that level, then yes, I think there's going to be a little bit of fall for grace, maybe only a 9 or 8 win season for Miami. But I think if I had a bet on it, Miami around 10 wins is probably a fair assessment.
Yeah,
all right,
that sounds about right. Yeah.
Let's move to Louisville. I just like saying the name. Louisville. The Cardinals.
Louisville.
Do it.
Yeah, to everybody's belief, doesn't it feel like every single year, Louisville gets a little bit disrespected? It's just not a bourbon town, everybody. They can score a lot of points. They have the transfer Lincoln Keyholtz coming in from Ohio State that had some really good time over the last couple years getting prepped for Ohio State. Julian Sayin beat him out. But this is a big, strong kid, can throw the football, and that's kind of the MO at Louisville. You got Jeff Brom there coaching a team that certainly is, I don't want to call him the quarterback whisperer, but he is a guy that certainly can coach the quarterbacks. If you look at, Tyler Shuck coming out the last couple of years, no one really heard about him. And then you got this kid Keyholtz coming in. This kid can really play. He didn't get, like I said, a lot of time at Ohio State, but he did get recruited. One of the best college football players, quarterbacks coming out in the country when he did come out to sign for Ohio State. So I think it rests a lot of bit on Keyholtz. Can he fit in that system, which never really changes for Jeff Brom? The system is the same. They're not moving. They always like this type of quarterback, a big, strong kid that can sling, kind of like what Jeff Brom is, a tough guy. So, Louisville always seems to get disrespected, and a lot of people pass them over, but I wouldn't pass them over this year. They have as good a chance as winning the ACC as anybody else, and with this little softer schedule and not really everybody targeting them, they're going to score a ton of points, and they're always up for the challenge in beating teams that maybe most people don't think that they can beat. I think it's the same type of year this way, and it's going to be all hold on their quarterback Keyholtz's shoulders.
Yeah, they're still a basketball school for most people, and I think that's a mentality for the general public or the general betting public. But since the coach Jeff there has taken over the helm, it's been trending upwards. I don't have them as elite ACC talent. By the way, the ACC might be the fourth of the four conferences, and that's why we started off with them. There's not a lot of power in the ACC, but they're an upper middle tier, in my opinion. They're a step down below the Miamis or, even the Clemsons. I think they're a tick below that, but they are trending in the right direction. If they can get an influx of NIL money, that could change the day for them. All right, there's one last ACC team I think you want to touch on, and that's Hokie High, the fighting James Franklins. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. I always, when we do these previews, I'm going to give a little bit of sleeper to people to watch out for. You look at a team like Virginia Tech, James Franklin coming in there as a culture builder, just what he did at Penn State. Did his time or the firing wrong for Penn State to get rid of James Franklin? I don't know. That wasn't my decision. But you look at a guy that's coming here, it's going to be rejuvenated. If you listen to all his press conferences, he is fired up and he is bound and determined to prove that Penn State, what they did to him was wrong. And you have a very fertile ground in terms of high school recruiting. And I know Michael Vick is certainly helping him with some of those recruiting, even though he is coaching another school in the HSBC division. But being from there, I know they've had a lot of conversations, and watch out for Virginia Tech. I don't think that they can win the ACC, but they're certainly going to have a team that's going to surprise a lot of people. And I think just how positive and how pumped up James Franklin is to prove these other people wrong, especially the Penn State. Watch out for Virginia Tech as a potential sleeper, not to definitively win the ACC, but to beat a few teams there that maybe that most people didn't think they would beat.
Yeah, I agree 100%. They're maybe not a bowl team, but look for them throughout the season to have one or two big upsets that nobody saw coming, that type of thing, where they're 2 touchdown dogs, 17-point dogs, and they pull the out.
I'm going to bet them a bunch this year. I'm going to take them points a lot this year. I'm telling you, they got some athletes on that team, and they got a lot of transfers that came in, and some of those guys did come in from Penn State. So, yeah, they're going to surprise a lot of people, and they're going to cover a lot of games this year.
All right, and I did see our first comment come through, so let me just remind people, if you want us to touch on any teams we don't, put them in the comment section. The 2-minute warning at the end will address all of those, so keep those comments coming. That's going to wrap up the first quarter. We're going to take our first time out. We'll come back with the Big 12. We're going to cover BYU, Utah, Texas Tech, Baylor, and Okie Doke State. But we'll be right back after this message.
My daddy used to ask me something. Is your ego more important than getting better? Because asking for help isn't weakness. Asking people who do this every day for a living, that's strength. That's WeWinYouWin.com. Professional bettors and sports fans who've come together to build a fun, interactive community where everyday bettors can follow the professionals' plays, hear their insights, and use advanced data and proven algorithms to make more informed decisions. You're already betting sports. You don't have to do it alone. Go to WeWinYouWin.com and sign up now. WeWinYouWin.com. When we win, you win.
All right, folks, welcome back. We're going to second quarter, Big 12. The first team up, we're going to hit those Mormons from BYU, the Cougars, baby. Let me start us off with the Cougars. This might be one of my favorite undervalued teams in all of college football. I think people are sleeping on the Cougars of BYU. They have one of the easiest schedules out there. They did go 12-2 last year. The Bear, the Bachmeier, the kid's back under helm, throwing the ball. He had 3,500 yards of total offense, 26 combined touchdowns. The kid is a little bit of a mini Tebow, I think, because he's got some legs, but he's not really fast, but he's strong and he's big, and I like him. LJ Martin's coming back. He was the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. They do have a couple little, let's call them landmines. They got TCU, Notre Dame, and Utah. You're going to find out later in the program. I'm not so big on those three teams, but we'll see. The win total for them for the year is 8.5, and I think in every scenario I ran out, they're getting to 9 wins. I actually think they get to 10 wins, but I see everything. I go, well, 9 wins or better, BYU over 8.5. If you're listening right now, put your phone down and go place the bet. Do it. Do it now. Anyways, John, what do you got on the Cougars, baby?
Yeah, man. You know they're certainly they've certainly been playing well with the influx of that. What they call him out there, Baby Huey, the big kid. That's what I forget his name. What'd you say his name was?
Bear. Bear's his first
Bear.
name.
Yeah, Bear. Yeah, he
boy.
looks like a bear, boy. Yeah, you know. BYU is always that team that's always has some consistency. You know, they're always solid, and I think potentially with the coach of Utah going to Michigan, your team, I know we'll talk about that a little bit later on, but you know, is that going to hurt Utah in the Big 12 and a couple other teams that potentially have some coaching changes and some quarterback changes? Is this the time for BYU to win the Big 12? I mean, who really do you have to play against? The best team that money can buy in Texas Tech. I think the Holy Roll rivalry with Utah, whatever they call it out there,
Holy War,
maybe
baby.
that's Holy War. I don't really know. I don't really like places that you can't drink on campus. So, I'm not going to mess with that BYU team very much. I don't trust people that don't drink, and I don't trust schools that you don't have campus bars. I'm not doing that. So I'm going to let you go ahead and take that BYU. I'm going to go a little bit different direction, and we'll talk about it after your next pick.
Yeah, my freshman year in college, I was in a freshman-only dorm, so it was a dry dorm. And I think in the first semester, I was in the dean's office twice for having illegal substances.
That's it.
Like
Only
Jägermeister, baby.
Only twice. That's I would have bet the over and under on that would have been 5 or 6. I'd have bet the over.
All right, let's move on to the other team on the other side of the Holy War, and that's the Utah Utes. You mentioned her already, but the coach is gone. He's going to Ann Arbor, baby. And he's taken a lot of staff, and he's taken a lot of linemen with him. I don't know if people pay attention because linemen aren't sexy, but they are. They are if you like winning games. Look at all the national champions the last 3 or 4, 5, 10 years. Great offensive line, great defensive line. I always call back to those great Saban Alabama teams. What did they have better than everybody else? They had a great offensive line, great defensive line. Most of those guys have left Utah. So we'll see. I think there's a lot of regression happening in Utah. They did go 11-2 and 7-2 in the Big 12. They averaged over 41 points a game. Devin Dampier, which I was my long shot Heisman from last year, I think he's missing the line, and I don't think he's as good of a quarterback without protection. I think a little regression. I know some people in our community have brought him up as a possible long shot Heisman. I wouldn't do that because I don't know what he has on the offensive front, and we know this from every level of college football. Give the quarterback time, and you got a chance. If he's on his back all day, you're done. You're done, okay? Schedule-wise, they do have Arkansas. Sweet. They're coming up to Salt Lake, travel to Iowa State, Arizona, TCU. BYU and Houston are coming to their place, though. Again, the rivalry game, I'm not too concerned about it. BYU is clearly the better team. They should win that rivalry game. But anything you got for the Utes?
Yeah, losing your coach and losing your offensive and defensive lineman, certainly is not a great makeup to win a lot of football games. If you look at that team always in the past, it was always stability. That's what they were built on, build in the trenches, right? A little bit like BYU. That's how they built it. So I'm right there with you. I think there's a little bit of a regression when it comes to that. I just don't think you can lose a coach in Winningham that was there for so long and built that culture and bring somebody else in and think it's just going to be that easy. I'm right there with you. I think there is some regression with Utah.
All right, let's move to the team that everybody wants to know about in the Big 12, and that's the Red Raiders. Texas Tech. Is it Jerry Maguire? What's Maguire's his last name? The coach?
Maguire, yep.
Yeah,
Jerry Maguire was the agent, but you're
show
right
me the money
point.
is where I was going with this, because they spent a lot of money on a quarterback that's not even going to play for them. But let's talk about Texas Tech.
Yeah, I mean, you look at a place like we said. I mean, is this a team that's really talented, really athletic, or is it a team it's the best team that money can buy? It didn't prove, the fruits of their labor last year with all the money that they spent. They certainly have a lot of money there. I like McGuire as a coach. I do, but they're bringing in a quarterback now that's not tested. I mean, I don't really see it. I think the debacle with the gambling scandal really hurt them more than what people think. I'm not so sure that the fans are going to, the fans are still going to back them, because Texas Tech out there in Lubbock, those people out there are crazy anyways. The people that go to Texas Tech and Lubbock think that they are the best sports team in the whole country. They think they're Texas is what they think they are. And they're not. They're unrealistic expectations, in my opinion, from Texas Tech. I don't really like what they're doing in terms of paying these kids so much money to buy a team. I think that builds complacency. And I just think that, I think there's a couple other teams that's really going to challenge them. They're going to win. They're going to have a bunch of wins. But I don't, are they going to contend with the Big 12 championship? Yeah, probably. But are they going to contend for the national championship? No. And for all the money that you spent, you're not buying a Big 12 championship. You're trying to buy a national championship with that type of money. So I just think it's another disappointing year. They have athletes. I just don't see it for Texas Tech. I really don't see it. I just think there's teams that are a little bit better. I really do. And, I don't know. What do you think?
BYU is better than Texas Tech. And you hit the nail on the head. They're spending a lot of money, but that doesn't always equal championships, right? Even if we go to the decision by LeBron, we'll change sports real quick, right? They didn't go in there and just rack up championships right away. There was a little bit of struggle. My problem with Texas Tech is the defense, I think, is taking a slight step back, and that was such a staple for them last year. I think the win total is 10.5. I think 10 is their ceiling. I don't see them getting more than 10 regular season wins. That's another bet I like a lot, is taking under on Texas Tech. 10.5, that's just a lot of wins, and they have some tough matchups. All right, let's transition. You got one letter. I'm sorry. You got two more teams here. Oklahoma State. I am a man. I am 40. But what is your take on Okie Doke State?
Well, the man that's 40 is now 54, and he's out. I'm just telling you, he went to retirement, so that 40-year-old doesn't really work anymore. But they did have a great influx of coach with Eric Morris coming there from North Texas. He is a young guy that is born, bred, Texas guy, hard-nosed, but he also brought his quarterback, Dean Musmaker, with him, who is a kid that, out to prove everybody, was never recruited out of high school. But this Eric Morris saw something in him, and you saw the numbers that he put up last year at North Texas, a big, strong, raw kid. I think Oklahoma State, I'm not sure if it's this year. They're going to beat some people that most people might not think. I think they're on the uptick. I liked Gundy a lot. I liked how he stuck up for his players. But sometimes that shit gets old for some of these people and some of these kids. And I think the big influx with Eric Morris coming in there, bringing that new blood, bringing that new energy, bringing that new tough style, and bringing this quarterback that potentially, maybe not this year, watch out for him next year as a Heisman, talking about a Heisman candidate, because he's going to put up big numbers like he did at North Texas. Oklahoma State is on the uptick. Watch them beat some teams that potentially you might not think they will beat. And they're going to be on our card a lot this year, taking a bunch of points, because I think at the beginning of the year, they're going to be a little bit underrated.
You're not wrong, but you're an year early. That's what I'm going to tell you right now. You're a year premature.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Next year's preview show, I think we're going to hammer on the Oklahoma State. But I think I think you're just a touch early, but I don't hate them. Middle of the road type team for me. There's one last Big 12 team you want to touch on. I want to say Baylor, right? Baylor, you wanted to hit on Baylor?
Yeah, always at the end when we preview this, I want to talk about a sleeper team that I really like. Dave Aranda there, a little bit on the hot seat coming in there. He's really good with quarterbacks. And listen, I don't know why this guy is not being talked about. We'll talk about him a little bit later on in the show. The influx and the transfer of DJ Lagway coming in there. Starting quarterback, 6'3", 240. The kid was the number one football player coming out of the United States in 2023. Number one football player, Texas Player of the Year, 6A. This kid, you just don't become you're just not the best high school football player coming out, and then you're no good anymore. It doesn't work that way. Unfortunately,
this is a transfer in from Florida, right?
Florida, yeah. Unfortunately, he went to Florida and was in a system that really didn't work for him with Billy Napier, and unfortunately, he lost a year. But this kid can play. His dad played running back at Baylor. They're going to score a ton of points. I like Dave Aranda as a coach. I think he's going to get the best out of DJ Lagway. I like him for the Heisman. We'll talk about it a little bit later on with massive odds for him. He's going to put up big numbers. His freshman and sophomore year, he single-handedly beat 5 of the top 15 teams in the country in between his freshman and his sophomore year. This kid can play. There's just going to be a lot of pressure. They might need some other players around him maybe next year that they get that when they see that Baylor potentially is back and can score some points. Maybe the Robert Griffin III era, getting some of these Texas kids. I'm a little higher on Baylor than most people. And again, I think that they're going to be able to beat some people that potentially most people don't think. They do have a tough schedule. That's the only rub.
I think they're a fun team to watch, but I wouldn't put a lot of credit in them winning games. I think they're going to get up and down the field, but it could be some Texas shootouts. You know, I like that. All right, that's going to take us to halftime. We got a quick little break here for you, folks. When we come back, we're going to hit the SEC and then the Big Ten. We're covering LSU, the Aggies of Texas A&M, the Hook'em Horns, the Dogs of Georgia, and Chomp Chomp Gators of Florida. But we'll be right back after this message.
Hi, golfers. IndyCar Tim here. I want to talk to you a little bit about Golf Central Magazine. It's not just a golf magazine. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Head over to golfcentralmag.com and check out the latest issue. Some of the regular features in Golf Central Magazine: the Golf Bachelorette of the Month, the Golf Bachelor of the Month, the Golf Cart Girl of the Month, Golf History, Grip It and Sip It. So head over to golfcentralmag.com. It's free. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Golf Central Magazine at golfcentralmag.com. We'll see you there. Sports fans, it's time to gear up. Head to fanstreamsports.com and check out our brand new merchandise store. We're talking bold t-shirts, 3/4 zips, hoodies, hats, mugs, and more. Everything you need to rep your favorite shows and your favorite crew. Whether you're rolling with the JP Peterson Show in Tampa Bay, From the Rough in Dallas, the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall, or the Jeff Thidoff Show in Ohio, or any of our FanStream Sports original programming, we've got the perfect look for game day and every day. So don't wait. fanstreamsports.com. Click merch and grab your gear now. Wear the stream, live the stream. fanstreamsports.com.
Hey folks, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center, a very different kind of approach to primary care. Personalized preventative medicine, not a one-pill-fits-all mentality. Christopher Lugo and his experienced medical staff are proactive in looking at issues before they become a problem, encouraging a healthy lifestyle with proper diet, supplements, and exercise to optimize your active lifestyle. Rather than the impersonal, rushed approach, you will be the only patient and will have our full attention. That's new. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. Bay Area Modern Medical Centers are experts in anti-aging regenerative medicine that optimizes your body's performance in many areas. So call for an appointment to get started on a journey back to full health and a happy life with a new, modern way of healthcare. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com.
Today's show is brought to you by Tomstown, a premier craft distillery based in Kansas City, Missouri. Discover their award-winning lineup, including double oaked bourbon, botanical gin, and double grain vodka. Named the best craft vodka by the readers of USA Today. Available for online delivery in 40 states. Visit toms-town.com or their Kansas City distillery to explore more. Elevate your game with Tomstown, where history meets innovation. Please enjoy responsibly. Orion Golf Management Solutions. Orion Management Solutions has tailored its service packages just like it tailors its approach to customers. Some owners need more supervision, while others need periodic assessment of their short-term and long-term strategies and programs. Orion can be called in to develop a business plan with the existing staff, or we can assist with the daily management of a facility or event. Either way, we make sure the client is satisfied and understands the direction the facility needs to go in order to achieve the owner's goals. Orion Management Solutions can help with owner assistance service solutions, daily course management, business plan development, monthly operations, or as-needed consulting services. Whatever your need, Orion Golf Management Solutions can help. Check out oriongolf.com.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
Welcome back, folks. We're in the third quarter, and we're talking SEC. That's the Southeastern Conference, and that's kind of where I grew up in college land. So I'm pretty hip to the beat, as the kids say. No kids say that anymore. All right, let's get into it. We're going to the Fighting Lane Trains, LSU. How about them Tigers? So let's start off down there in Baton Rouge. I think we're totally we know this. We're in a completely different team here, right? The whole thing's changed. We even got Ed Ogeron on the staff. I love that. If he ain't LSU, I don't know what is. But here's the big headlines you need to know. There's a little kid out of ASU. That's where I'm at here in Tempe, Arizona. Sam Levitt. He can spin it. He can spin the ball. I'm high on Sam Levitt this year. We've already seen this before. ASU quarterback transfers to LSU, and then you can't use his number 5 ever again. Oh, that's right, JD, baby. I hate that move, but I'm telling you right now, there's a link between ASU and LSU. Sam Levitt has thrown over 4,600 career yards, 36 touchdowns, rushed for another 800. He's got 10 rushing touchdowns. He's already played and quarterbacked the team in the college football playoffs. What more do I need to tell you? Now, they're bringing in a lot of new guys, but they already have 6 returning starters. And the offensive line has been completely rebuilt and I think highly improved. Kiffin, they got Clemson week 1, so that's going to be a real test. We're going to find out real quick which Tiger is the best. LSU probably there. And then they got Ole Miss, Bama, Texas A&M all coming to Baton Rouge there. I think this is the most vital team, or whatever word I'm trying to say. You could have, this team could go and play for a national championship, and this team could also be 6-6 or something sitting at the end of the year. So I don't know where they're going, but I do know one thing, and that is offense. This team is going to put up a ton of points this year. LSU, Jeff.
Yeah, I think it's same. If you look at a team that I'm a little higher on LSU than what most people are. Again, is it a wild? You have a coach that's a wild card, and you have a team that's a wild card. I mean, are you hitting on 7? Are you hitting on 16? Or are you staying on 16? Man, Lane Kiffin is going, and he is going, and he has the personnel. What brought the personnel is to be the gunslinger mentality that he has. Only thing I'm worried about Levitt is, can he stay healthy? I think they're gonna have him run a little bit more with the athleticism that they have, and also is defending some of those bigger, more athletic SEC teams as opposed to the Big 12 that Sam Levitt maybe was used to in the past. Not saying the Big 12 is trash, not saying that, but it's maybe a little bit different ball game with these SEC defenses that they can kind of scheme up some things. I'm just worried potentially about Sam Levitt's health, but I agree with you, man. I think Levitt's a stud, and you got it right, man. They're either going to make the playoffs or they're going to win 5 games. I don't know which one yet, but we're going to find out real fast. I love Lane Kiffin. Like him or not, I'm a Lane Kiffin fan. I like him. It's going to be interesting. Best college football atmosphere to go to a night game. Any place in the country, I will bet anybody, whatever it is. I've been to them all. There's nothing better than Tiger Stadium in a night game, and in Baton Rouge for sure.
Yeah, this is what I would tell you as far as your concerns. Now, your concerns about injuries, sure, but if we're going to sit here and try to predict injuries, whatever, we're not going to get very far there. Texas Tech, last year's Texas Tech defense was probably one of the best defenses in all the country. There will not be a better defense in the SEC than Texas defense last year. Go look at his numbers versus Texas Tech. I don't have it in front of me, but if you want a little preview, go see what he did there. I think that's going to compute because that's going to be the level of the top the Bamas, right? Some of those defenses are going to be
Sure.
on that same level. All right, let's move to Texas A&M, the Aggies, the 12th man. I personally do not like this university, do not like this school, so maybe this is going to have a little bit of my perspective, my bias. Let me put that out front. They finished 11-2, 7-1 in the SEC, and they were the biggest frauds in the SEC. They played nobody most of the conference. When they came up to the end of the year, it showed. Mike Elko, third year coming in. I think he's actually done a great job after a few terrible coaching hires. Marcel Reed is the quarterback. He's already got over 5,400 passing, 41 touchdowns in the air, over 1,000 yards rushing, and 14 on the ground, 14 touchdowns on the ground. Can he step up and be the man? Can he be the dude? Can he be the dog? Can he put the team on his shoulders and take him to the promised land? I don't think so. I'm not so sold on him. But they have plenty of opportunities. They got LSU, Alabama, Texas. All three are on the schedule. That's going to be their measuring stick. I think if this team wants to get to the level they want to get to, they got to win all three of those games. And I don't see that happening. I see Bama and Texas beating them, maybe LSU, but I don't know what to make on LSU, as we just talked about that. I think we're trending downward on the Aggies there. So I would be looking to fade the Aggies this year. What do you have on Texas A&M?
Yeah, I've made more money betting against Texas A&M than I have in the last 5 years in any team in college football. They are the epitome of disappointment. They're always ranked high. There's no reason why they should be terrible. And I like Elko a lot. I do. I think he brings the toughness that they need. They have more money than any school in the country. I don't know if people know that. They have more money than any school in the country, and they spend it on their athletic programs. There's no reason for Texas A&M to be poor and to be bad, but they disappoint every single year. They win, they lose games that they shouldn't lose. I'm not sold on Reed. I think he is the quarterback that they keep refurbishing every single year, the same guy, and it does nothing for me. So, like I said, I'm not really sold on Texas A&M, but I haven't been sold on Texas A&M over the last 3 or 4 years. I wish I could say some things positive about them because I do like Elko. I think he's going to be on the hot seat. I think he's going to be better served going somewhere else because I really think he's a really good coach. But I'm down on Texas A&M this year as I have been the last couple.
Yeah, I think they were a little fraudulent last year, if I'm being honest. All right, Let's move to your team. We're staying in the great state of Texas. But let's hook them. How about the Longhorns and Arch Manning? What do they got going on this year?
Yeah, if there's not more hype on any team larger in the country, it's the Texas Longhorns. I mean, I'm a big Sark fan. Arch Manning, listen, if they can't win a national championship, I'm just not even talking about, the SEC championship. This is the time for them. They put together all the tools that they need. Cam Coleman coming in from Ole Miss. They probably have the best defensive player in the country. You got Arch Manning, another guy in the system. Big fan of Sark, and like I said, he probably shouldn't be on the hot seat because I always look at coaches like, okay, if you get rid of this guy, who you're going to bring in? It's better, and I don't really think that there anybody better in the country. The expectations for Texas is so high. Certainly going to get tested the second week of the season when the Ohio State Buckeyes, which I can't stand being from Columbus. I might be the only person from Columbus, Ohio that is not a Buckeye fan. So you will not hear me rah-rah about the Ohio State Buckeyes, but it's certainly going to be tested there. They have a brutal schedule, man. It may be the team that this year, for the first time ever, a 3-loss team gets in the playoffs, and that could be Texas because their schedule is so hard if they do lose some of these games. Brutal schedule, high on Texas. Even if they would get in at 3-loss, they would have a chance to win the national championship. I like them this year. I just think their schedule is difficult.
Yeah, 2 Ohio boys, or at least originally from. I'm from Toledo myself, and I'm also not a big Buckeye guy.
Nope.
But I'm going to tell you right now, the Buckeyes are beating down the fucking Longhorns. You better put that in your fucking
No,
get out
of here.
I'm telling you right now, the Buckeyes are beating the Longhorns. You can put that on a receipt and bring it back up later. I'm telling you right now, the Buckeyes are beating the Longhorns. Ryan Day, that's going to be his only great win this year. Maybe we'll talk about Ohio State later, but Buckeyes over Longhorns.
I'll be at that game. I don't know if I'm going to remember the game, but I'll be there. It's a night game. It's going to be a lot. But I will be there. Hopefully I'm not on the ground or trying to run on the field or something. We'll see.
Texas is good, not elite. Stark can't win the big game. Anytime they get into the big prime spotlight, he loses. Ohio State, Texas is that game. He loses. Arch, he's missing a piece. I don't know what the piece is there, but he's missing a weapon or he's missing a better line or something. There's something missing for Arch. Fade him as a Heisman candidate, by the way, as well, since we're talking that. Let's move to go Dogs. Georgia, Athens, Georgia, Kirby Smart. Hit me with Georgia.
Yeah, they're if this is a real thing, is Georgia under the radar? I think they are. There's so many other teams that are getting talked about. Gunnar Stockton, he's been in that system now for 3 years, knowing the system right. I mean, I'm not saying he's a world beater at quarterback, but certainly doesn't make a lot of mistakes under Kirby Smart, right? They have everything that you need to win a national championship, and you better believe Kirby Smart is playing this underdog, underroll card and pumping these guys up, saying, hey, nobody thinks you guys can. They're not even picked by some of these experts to win the SEC. And that's exactly how Kirby Smart wants it. That's how he likes it. I think Georgia has a great shot to go to the title game and win the national championship. They have every single piece that you need. And I just think Kirby Smart is hungry. He's still a dog. Watch out for Georgia as a national championship, not only to win the SEC, but a national championship pick.
Yeah, I have Georgia as like a semifinal team, top 4 team. Not sure if they're going to win a natty this year, but I have them as an elite team. And I thought I was the only one. I'm like, am I the only one that is missing the boat on Georgia? Like, they should be the team to beat, or if not, team A, team 1A. Like they're the dudes. They're the dogs on the block, if we want to call it that. So yeah, I think the public, the quote unquote experts, the talking heads, whatever you want to call them, are lower on Georgia, and maybe not because they think they're bad, but just because there's so much flash in the pan elsewhere. There's so many big storylines that they're kind of just, and they've been around for a little bit, right? So maybe a little bit of that fatigue, but don't sleep on Georgia. They, I think, are the best team in the SEC.
Yep.
All right, their rival, you want to touch on Florida. Let's touch on them.
Yeah, we'll just jump into Florida. I think Florida's a little bit of a sleeper team. They brought in some really good transfers, and I think the kind of influx of the new coach of Summerall coming in there is going to bring a lot of new young energy. Again, my third pick in this, when we want to talk about, I always kind of look at that sleeper. I think they're going to have, I don't know what their win total is. I think they only got to like 5. I think 5 wins is kind of what their over and under is. I think they go over that. I think they can get to 6. It's always difficult to play in the swamp. They have the dudes, man. They have the dudes. Florida's always going to have the dudes. It's just one of those teams that they got talent. They got players. I think the influx of Summerall is going to help them a ton. Watch out for Florida making some splashes. I think, like you said earlier, with a team like Baylor, I think they're a year away, maybe because of the new coach. But they have the athletes, and Florida certainly is still a destination for these players to go to.
All right, guys, we're going to take one more timeout, and then we're going to come back with the Big Ten in the fourth quarter. That's Penn State, Nebraska, Ohio State, USC, and Oregon. And then we're going to hit you with our 4 best preseason bets: the run, the pass, the Hail Mary, and the punt play. This is the Better College Football Show.
My daddy used to ask me something. Is your ego more important than getting better? Because asking for help isn't weakness. Asking people who do this every day for a living, that's strength. That's WeWinYouWin.com. Professional bettors and sports fans who've come together to build a fun, interactive community where everyday bettors can follow the professionals' plays, hear their insights, and use advanced data and proven algorithms to make more informed decisions. You're already betting sports. You don't have to do it alone. Go to WeWinYouWin.com and sign up now. WeWinYouWin.com. When we win, you win.
All right, folks, welcome back, and we're heading into the fourth and final quarter. We're talking Big Ten football. The first team up is we got the Nittany Lions, and we got a coaching change. We talked about it a little bit with Franklin leaving. And my absolute favorite coach in all of college football, Matt Campbell, is taking over the reins at Penn State. I loved him at Iowa State. If you watched my preview show last year, I told you by this time he would be with a major SEC school. Whoops, sorry, major Big Ten school. I think the Big Ten is the best coaching conference from head to toe. There's not a better conference when it comes to head coaches. They're stacked and loaded. But let's get into Penn State. They finished at 7-6, 3-6 in the Big Ten, but that's the old guard. James Franklin's out, Matt Campbell's in. And here's something, if you didn't know, I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to change your opinion on Penn State. Rocco, baby. Rocco's the quarterback. He was the quarterback at Iowa State. Liked him a lot. A little bit of a long shot. Heisman was in the running kind of there for a little bit. He's coming over and taking over the reins at Penn State. And I'm telling you right now, the difference between Penn State and Iowa State last year is he's going to have more offensive weapons. And he is an NFL grade quarterback. If you don't know about him, I'm telling you right now, he's probably in a second or third round, is kind of where the Mel Kiper Juniors of the world have him. But he is a top, let's say, this would be conservative, top 4 round draft pick quarterback, going to be taking over, new coach, new philosophy. And sometimes just the changing of the guard gives the student body, the university, everything that uplifting. There's going to be a lot of excitement there in Happy Valley. I'm going to go on and on and on, but here's all you need to know. The market has them at 8.5 wins. That's easy, folks, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm not even going to say arguably. I think everybody agrees that Ohio State, Oregon, and Indiana are the top 3 teams in the Big Ten. Whatever order they're in, I think everybody agrees those are the top 3 teams. Guess what? Penn State doesn't have to play any of them. They don't have to play any of those 3 teams. Their 2 toughest conference games are the University of Michigan and the Huskies of Washington. That's it. It's a cupcake Big Ten schedule. I think they got, Marshall, Temple, Buffalo. I think Bowling Green might have been on the schedule. They got some real cupcake teams. Getting to 9 wins should be no problem. Look for them as a dark long shot to win the Big Ten. I don't think it happens, but they could catch lightning in a bottle. They have enough talent there to make it happen. But yeah, I would say they're in my tier 2 of Big Ten teams this year. What do you think about the Nittany Lions?
Yeah, right there with you. I mean, I think they're just a little under the radar team. Matt Campbell, I think he's one of the top 5 best college coaches in the country. A Toledo boy, I know that's why you like him so much, and bringing over 22 players from Iowa State to kind of continue to build that Matt Campbell type of culture going into Penn State. I think you're 100% right. You'll see it. You'll hear me talk a little bit more. I have them for our pass play. I think they're way over 8.5 wins. I don't think they lose a game. I think they don't lose a game. Potentially loss only is to USC on the 7th game of the season. So they're going to really jump up the radar there. Matt Campbell, certainly a disciplined coach. And you're right. Rocco, baby. Rocco. He's going to be rocking on, baby, in Happy Valley. I'm just going to tell you, you got a guy that's going to be a 4-year starter, man. That does not happen very often in college football. And if you want to talk about somebody that can coach quarterbacks, Matt Campbell is one of the best in the country. Penn State on the uptick. Like we talked about earlier, if you're going to fire a coach, can you find somebody better? I think Penn State did. I think they're on the uptick to not maybe this year, but over in the future, always contending with Matt Campbell's there for a Big Ten championship.
Little shout out to the millennials in the audience, but Rocco's Modern World, baby, or Life, or whatever that show was. But yeah, Rocco, baby. Oh, shucks. Let's move to Nebraska. So they finished 7-6 last season. Year 4, Matt Rule. I'm on him. I still think they probably need a little bit more support there. I think he's maybe lacking on some of the NIL and things of that nature. I'm not going to spend too much time on them. They have a really easy schedule. The over-under win-loss for them is 6.5. They do have to face Indiana, Oregon, Washington, Illinois, Ohio State, and Iowa, all on the back half of the schedule. So look for them to get out and get wins early, start off maybe like a 5-1 team, and then falter down the way. But they do go over 6.5. I have them actually coming in at 7 as their floor, 8 is their ceiling. So I think they're a 7 to 8 win team. That should tell you to take over 6.5 wins. Anything on the Cornhuskers?
Yeah, I think, if you believe in Matt Rule, you believe in Matt Rule. Not a lot of support there. They're not getting a lot of kids that go there. So how do you get these recruits? Warren Buffett's not writing them checks, which is weird to not get them. He must just not be a college football fan. or just doesn't like Matt Rule. But I don't know. They're just, they're just always in the middle to me, right? They're about right where everybody thinks they are. It's just whatever.
They haven't been dominant since Osborne was the coach. Okay.
That's right.
And some of the people watching right now might not remember who the heck that is. All right,
No, it's not Ozzy.
Yeah, well, yeah. Let's move to the most talked about team in all of the Big Ten. And I don't care what show you're on, what network you're on, everybody talks about the Ohio State Buckeyes, but you're here to rain on their parade, so give it to me.
Yeah, I mean, they're the big man on campus. Let's just be honest. I mean, they are the team to beat. Listen, is it going to be a continue national championships for the Big Ten? You certainly have that. Ohio State sits on that box, even though they came into number 2 and Oregon 1. However you want to look at them, but Ryan Day has the best college football record over the last 8 years in college football. So listen, they are the team to beat. I'm on the other side. I think they lose a couple games. I think that I think that they lose at least 2 games. I think they lose the Texas game. I know you don't. I think they lose the Oregon game. And I think they go back to a spot to where that they lose a game that they probably shouldn't lose. And, all the talent in the world. I know that's reload, Ohio State, rah, rah, rah. But, man, at some point, you got to – man, I don't know. I think everybody's getting better. I don't think Ohio State's just going to continue to beat down. They're not going to play the toughest schedule, but they're not playing a bunch of cupcakes in the Big Ten anymore. You don't have those layups as you used to anymore in the Big Ten. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, always the Michigan game is going to be tough, no matter what their records are, no matter what they go into. But I think that this Julian saying we're going to talk about him on our futures bet. I think they're going to have to rely a little bit more on their running game and not put it on Julian saying. I don't think he can carry a team. And I think the loss of all those guys in the NFL last year are going to hurt them, even though that they do reload. I'm not nearly as high on the Buckeyes as most people are. I think they make the playoffs, but I don't think they win the national championship.
Yeah, I have them 10-2 as well. I have them losing to Oregon as well, but not to Texas. I think the second loss comes along. A team of the quality of maybe on the Penn State, Michigan kind of level, a team like that, maybe a tier 2 team. I think they get sniped in there for another loss. I have them as 10-2 and second in the Big Ten behind Oregon. But let's move on to actually that team right now, Oregon. You want to talk about Oregon? Let's talk about
it's the same. Yeah, well, it's the same thing. I think they're just high. Everybody's really a bit high on them. I think they have a lot of returning people, with more coming back as a starter. But if it's not kind of similar situation that Dan Lanning has, that sarcasm. I mean, if it's not now, when is it? They've been in these spots a lot, and they just really couldn't convert in the big games. Dan Lanning, I love him as a coach. I love his energy. They have brought in a couple transfers, and their defense is just going to be massive. They're going to put a couple teams that not going to score this year. I'm just going to tell you right now. Oregon, when you think about their offense, I think you're going to look at them in a little bit different light and think how good their defense is now. And I think that helps Dan Lanning. But the question mark is, can Dan Lanning win the big game like Sark? I'm not really sure. And we'll jump in real quick to USC. USC, I think, is the sleeper in the Big Ten. They have a very difficult schedule. If Lincoln Riley doesn't get close to the playoffs or contend or has another 4 or 5 loss season, I think he's gone. And I think that with Mailava there, I think they have one of the best quarterbacks in the country, certainly talent-wise. I think they brought in some really good, bigger, stronger, kind of old-school USC guys to really beat some people. I'm a little bit higher on USC as a little bit sleeper in the Big Ten. I'm not sure if they'll win. But they could be a team that maybe kind of has that two-loss season and maybe sneaks into the playoffs a little bit.
Yeah, Oregon, best team in the Big Ten, maybe the best team in the whole country. We'll see how the season plays off. Their offense is going to be good, and as good as you remember. But John hit the freaking nail on the head right there. The defense is going to be one of the best defenses in the Big Ten. They're going to cause havoc for a lot of people. They're going to blow out a lot of people, I think, as well. Matt Campbell's my first favorite. Dan Lanning's my second favorite coach. I think he's doing great jobs. Great job up there. USC, I think, is a little bit of a dark horse. They could be one of those teams. They're not going to win the Big Ten, but they could be one of those teams that sneaks in as one of the last teams in the playoffs. Yep. I do see that as well.
Oregon going into Ohio State, that game's going to tell you everything you need to know about Oregon.
Yep. I think Ohio State's the measuring stick for Texas and Oregon this year. We're going to find out a lot about everybody. All right, guys, we're getting up against it here. We got about 2 minutes left. Any comments you want? The comments so far have just been kind of like, great show, blah, 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 nothing to address. So we're not going to get into those, but keep the comments coming in. We love them. Let's get into the plays, and we're going to finish strong here. So the first play we got up is the run play. I hope that's viewable for everybody on the screen there at home. But as you can see, my run play, and again, a run play is just our more conservative, what we're really confident in, what we're, whatever, however you want to put it. Anyways, my run play is taking the Clemson Tigers over 7.5 wins. We've kind of touched on the Clemson Tigers earlier in our show, but if you weren't tuning in, let me give you the recap. The market, the people, whoever, they're undervaluing. They've got an upgraded quarterback. They brought in some transfers. Dabo Swinney is getting a little bit on the hot seat. All they got to do is get to 8 wins to win the bet. Give me Clemson over 7.5 wins this year. John, your run play.
I'm going to go on the backside of that. I'm going to go UNC, North Carolina, under 5 wins. I think this is an experiment for UNC that failed miserably bringing Bill Belichick there. Joe Lombardi getting gone as their general manager, his old school guy. He was a GM for the Patriots with him going. He's gone. I only see 3 wins on their schedule, and that's a punchy 3 wins. I think they lose the first game to TCU, no matter how much TCU embarrassed them last year in the first game. I think the only wins that they get, East Tennessee State. I think Syracuse in that rivalry against Duke, that's the only 3 wins I see on their schedule. I'm going to go I got UNC at 5. You got them at 5.5 on where I play at. I got him at 5. I'm going to go under 5 UNC.
Yeah, under 5.5, depending on what book. Obviously, they differ. Yeah. Would you say under 4.5 because you think 4 is their ceiling?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think they have 3 wins. I think they win 3 games.
4.5 or less or better, John says, jump on them. Let's move over to the pass play. And again, I'll explain this. This is a little bit longer shot. We still think it's going to happen, but the odds might be a little bit longer. Again, when we get into the actual Saturday shows, there'll be games for that day, but this is a future show. SMU, Mustang Sally, Rhett Lashley, give it to me, baby. They're winning the ACC. I'm not sure who's a better team than them in the ACC. They're going to roll it. And I think you can get them at plus 700, plus 750, somewhere in that range. But yeah, SMU to win the ACC. That's my pass play. John, what do you like, bud?
Man, I just hope that the weather gets really bad there in Dallas where those girls don't run around half naked, man. Because if that's the case, SMU doesn't have a chance. There's too many pretty girls there, baby, for those guys. But I like it a lot. SMU, certainly the talent bringing back to Dallas, the old school SMU Mustangs. I love it. I like what you talked a little bit earlier. Penn State over 8.5 wins. I look down their schedule. I think they're 6-0 going into the USC game. USA going into Happy Valley to get that 7 wins. Is there 2 more wins on that schedule? Certainly there is on the back end of that schedule for sure. I'm a contrarian. I think Indiana is going to take a little bit of a downtick this year. You can't keep up that pace, right? So I think Penn State, it's Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon for the Big Ten. I don't think it's Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana. I think Penn State puts in that. I love Penn State over 8.5 wins.
Yeah. I think the 2 teams that I'm most fascinated following in the Big Ten is Penn State and USC. Penn State because of the new, and let's see what's up. USC because I think you're right with Lincoln Riley. I think we're getting to the end of the road if the road doesn't start improving, right?
Yep.
So, all right, let's get to the Hail Mary. These are our long shots. Each week we'll hit you with a long shot, whether it's a parlay, whether it's an underdog. Preseason, we've gone with some Heisman here. Let's throw it up on the screen for the folks at home. Sam Leavitt, LSU. We already talked about this. How many guys have we seen a quarterback transfer to LSU and win a Heisman for me to do anything else? Joe Burrow, right? He come in from Ohio State, LSU, Heisman Trophy winner. Jaden Daniels come in from ASU, Heisman Trophy winner. Give me Sam Leavitt. Give me the Heisman in Baton Rouge again. Lane's going to run up a lot of scores, so we know the numbers are going to be there. Can the team be competitive enough and good enough to make it? Because if they're a 5 or 6 win team, he ain't winning. I need LSU to get to like 9 or 10 wins or better, I think, for him to win. But the numbers will be there for Sam Leavitt. Who do you like for Heisman this year?
Man, I am going way, way down the board at 94 to 1. I'm going DJ Lagway, baby. That is my guy. DJ Lagway, if you look, he's no one's talking about him. And we talked a little bit earlier in the show. He was the number 1 football player coming out in the country 2023. He just does not forget how to play football, guys. Listen, he's going to put up massive numbers for Baylor. Dave Aranda puts up an offense. It's going to be Robert Griffin III-esque. Their team is not nearly as good. If he doesn't win the Heisman this year, he's going to put up big numbers and watch him potentially for next year. But if I look at my money and go down the list at 94-1 for DJ Lagway at 6'4", 240, can throw it, can run it, massive numbers. I bet he has 38 touchdowns this year. He's going to have a ton of touchdowns. He's going to have a lot of rushing touchdowns. He's going to put up big stats. I love DJ Lagway 94-1 to win the Heisman.
All right. Yeah. I don't hate it. The odds are there. The money makes sense, right?
Yeah.
My only hesitation is how good of a team is Baylor going to be? Because they don't want to say this, but how many Heisman Trophy winners in the last 10 or 15 years came off a 6 or 7 win team? It just doesn't happen. I don't think Baylor wins more than 8 games. I know you're higher on them. So that would be my only precaution. But again, at 94-1, throw ham sandwich money on it, if you don't know.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Let's move to the punt play. This is the people we're fading, what we don't like. Avoid. We're talking Heisman trophies. Let me throw a little statistic out for you. Since 2022, I believe, or 2023, don't quote me. So basically the last 23 years, the 2 odds-on favorite preseason for the Heisman, I think there's only been one. I think there's only been one of them that has actually won the Heisman. The top 3 to 4 guys right now, Heisman, fade them. But here's what we're going to jump into. I'm jumping on C.J. Carr. That's the quarterback at Notre Dame. I'm down on Notre Dame. I don't think they get to 10 wins this year. I think there's a big regression at Notre Dame. Jeremiah Love was such an important piece of that offense. He had the defenses not only focus on him, but he helped run the clock, maintain possession of the ball, and helped give CJ, I guess, more time to work with. He was a dump down target. That's gone. I'm not sure, or I at least didn't see a lot of transfers or influx of talent. I think the talent actually takes a slight step back, and Notre Dame being Notre Dame, they'll find a way to lose to the big boys. So I'm fading Notre Dame. That means fading CJ Carr as well. Who do you like to fade as a Heisman?
I mean, I like that pick. It's hard to be a really good quarterback when you lose two running backs in the first round of the NFL draft. He relied on them a lot. But I'm kind of going the same direction. I'm punting on Julian Sayin at 12-1 for the Heisman. I think that they're putting a lot of pressure on this kid. I think that they're going to – I think that here's what I want to say. I think for Ohio State to be really good, they're going to have to rely on their running game. Even though that they have studs on the outside with Smith and Henry, listen – you got to set up your pass by your run. And they have really two with Bo Jackson and their other running back that come in. The other one will be kind of by committee. They're going to have to run the football also. And if you look at those stats, if you're running the football, 25, 30, 40 times and he's only going to pass 23, 24 times, that's not a lot of stats, right? So you're spreading the ball around to so many people, especially with the run game. I think if Ohio State is going to be good, I think they have to run the football first, as opposed to putting everything on Julian Sayin's shoulders. And he's not a big guy, doesn't have big shoulders. I don't think he can carry the load to put up the stats for the Heisman, even though Ohio State is going to be, they're going to be good this year and it's going to look to him. I think there's other superstars that have potential other than Julian Sayin. So I'm fading Julian Sayin at 12-1 for the Heisman.
If Ohio State were to go undefeated and win a national championship, that means Bo Jackson, the running back for Ohio State, will be a household name. Let me just put that out. Let me say that again for the people in the back. If Ohio State football was to go undefeated this year and win a national championship, everybody outside of Ohio will know who Bo Jackson is, and that'll be the reason, not saying. So I agree with you 100%. Folks, we're going to wrap it up. That, I think, was a great for a little soft launch show. Tune in tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, right up until kickoff. We're going to be going through all the games, all the best bets. But this is the Better College Football. I'm your Highness. That's John Gerber. Again, every Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, right here. Get you ready before first kickoff. We study. We do the breakdowns. We do everything for you, the people, so you don't have to. Just tune in, like, subscribe, do all that BS they tell you to do, and kiss your wife and baby goodnight for me. That's it. Peace.
Thanks for watching the Better College Football Show. Join us next Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Until then, like, share, subscribe, enjoy the games, and let's cash some tickets. WeWinYouWin.com and FanStream Sports.